Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Nighttime. I'm one of your hosts, Maddie Glass, and today we have a very fun show in store for you today. We're going to start off with our college volleyball conference picks, move on to UCF's first ever football conference game, and end it with a college football take debate. Stay tuned because Nighttime starts now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back to Nighttime. Thank you for joining us. And I'm here with Kirsten and Andrew. We're going to talk some volleyball, but first I do have to clear the air. Andrew, I know it was a tough loss last night. How are you feeling today real quick?
Oh, we're talking about this. Okay, great.
No, we're not going into it. Just really
Okay,
quick.
I mean, my leg hurts. We got fouled. We got cheated out, but whatever.
And then, of course, we're here with Tyler, whose leg also hurts. Tyler, how
I
are
was
you
injured.
doing?
I went down. Should have been a foul, but I'm fine now.
He got nominated for an Oscar, though.
Yeah, it was a very impressive performance, I guess.
Those
and
4 years of high school theater paid off.
Kirsten, how are you?
We seem to have a theme of leg injuries, so I'll follow. My leg also hurts.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to start right off with on the West Coast, my Pac-12 conference volleyball champion. I got to go with number 4 Stanford. They're 8-2 overall and have already beat 4 top 25 teams. They won the Pac-12 last year, and they just have some really impressive players on their roster. Cami Minor, their setter, has 397 assists on the season, and I just think they're going to keep rolling. They already started conference play. They beat Cal, swept them in 3 sets. So I think they're going to come out with the win again. Obviously, their biggest competition is going to be Oregon and Washington State, who are also both ranked in the top 8, but Stanford has them on top for now. And then I'm just going to move on to Kirsten. I assigned you the ACC. Tell me about Louisville volleyball.
Okay, so when I looked at ACC teams, I looked at last year. And last year, Louisville did really good, right? They were on a great win streak, and they were going all the way. It looked like they went to the championship, and it looked like they were going to take it, seeing the rest of their season. And then they lost 0-3 to Texas. They got swept. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But this year, they were, voted by the head coaches as, the people to win it all. So I was like, yeah, it's not really an underdog pick, but I'm somebody who loves underdog picks. So I was like,
it's
okay.
like a Cinderella pick.
It's like it's like a Cinderella pick.
Your underdog, top 5 ranked team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stop, Tyler. Listen, let me be a dreamer. So this season, they're 9-1 right now, 0-0 in conference, but I feel like they're starting out really strong, and I really want to watch them take it all the way. They've got some pretty big players, CeCe Rush, Anna DeBeer, who's recovering from an injury. She also had a leg injury, apparently, last season, and so she's kind of back, kind of still injured. She's working on it, but they're the powerhouse players, and, they're really just fun to watch.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be a really interesting conference to watch, definitely in the ACC, because you have those North Carolinas, Florida State, obviously, which UCF did beat a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But, Andrew, you had a little bit of a hot take for your pick for the SEC. Tell me why you chose Alabama.
Yeah, so I'm rooting for Alabama, of course, at least for my prediction for
Alabama
the SEC.
fan?
I like Alabama, but sorry, I didn't mean to say rooting. That's just my prediction.
Okay.
He's never said Roll Tide in his life.
I have, but
We'll say it now.
For a bit. No, I'm not gonna say now.
Okay.
Yeah, Alabama's currently sitting at 10-1, as are 3 other SEC schools actually. Tennessee and UF being the other 2, which UF is sitting 3rd overall. Tennessee at 14th. Alabama, crickets. I'm not gonna make the sound.
You can make the sound.
It's
can make
okay.
the sound.
Mason barked on combine. We've had enough.
You're right.
Yeah, Alabama's 10-1 overall, 4-0 at home, 3-0 away, but 3-1 in neutral games. They've only lost 8 sets all season, which is ridiculous. But also, I just want to shout out somebody real quick. Kendall Ruff, she leads the SEC in service aces with a total of 23, as well as 9th in kills, 9th in points, again, overall in the SEC, as well as Aaliyah Wells and Chase Campbell, who are 2nd and 4th, respectively, in total hits in the SEC. They've got a great lineup. They've got great upside. I would say their only threat, as I mentioned before, are Tennessee and UF. They're two powerhouses in the conference, as well as Auburn. They're up there, but it's going to be tough because, of course, UF and Tennessee are two other superstar teams. But I think Alabama has the potential to at least make top 4, top 3 in the conference. I'm just rooting for them to go number 1.
Do you think, like, with a few big wins, they could enter, like, the top 25 ranking for volleyball?
I think so. My bad, I don't remember exactly their schedule and who they're playing up next, but
That's
I think
okay.
they should be able to make the top 5, or the top 25 overall at least.
Okay, yeah, obviously right now the big story in SEC volleyball is Florida,
Mm-hmm.
who is the number 3 team, although they did lose to my Big 10 pick. But Tyler, you had the Big 12, and obviously UCF is in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you pick to win the Big 12?
I did not pick the hometown team UCF. I picked another new school on the block, BYU. They have started this season off incredibly hot. The graphic says 11-1. They just won their game last night, so they currently sit at a 12-1 record, best in the conference. Now, going into the season, the favorites for the Big 12 were obviously reigning conference champions Texas. They were dominant last season, though they have really stumbled out the gate, currently sitting at 5-3 overall with their current record. BYU, however, is number 10 in the ranking, so they're not like the upper echelon of college volleyball quite yet, but trust me, they will get there. This is a star-studded team. They have the best defense in the Big 12 Conference overall. They allow a hitting percentage of .132, and this team's biggest strength is its size. Almost everyone on this roster is 6'3". They got one player well over 6'5".
Oh, that's
They
so
are
tall.
they are towers on this team all around. And so their biggest competition right now is definitely Kansas, and UCF technically. They're both 9-2, 9-1.
Yeah, say it again.
So, but I don't see how those teams can compete with the just sheer star-studded talent on this BYU roster.
Yeah, I don't know if UCF plays BYU this year. We'll have to look that up, but that would be
November.
definitely a game to watch. They do?
November. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to that one. I don't know about you guys.
Also, can I just jump in real quick? Tyler, for Oklahoma, UCF, they play this time next week, like a week from today and a week from tomorrow. Who are you going to be rooting for? Because this is going to be in Orlando.
I'll definitely be rooting for UCF. Oklahoma's not a super great volleyball school.
That's the only reason why he's not
They're
rooting
like
for them.
solid. There's Oklahoma football and softball. That's what they're great at.
Okay. Well, okay, now we obviously have to end it with the best team in the nation, Wisconsin. They're number 1 ranked in the entire nation. They're my Big 10 pick. I think it's an easy pick, although they do have some pretty big competition. They're 9-0 and have won the Big 12 for the last 4 years. And I think they had 4 preseason all-conference players and just have really shown their dominance. They've already played 5 top 25 teams and have gone 5-0. And obviously, one of the big matches happened last week against number 3 Florida. They played in front of a crowd of like 32,000 people at UF, and they won after being down 0-2. I think some really impressive players have been Sarah Franklin. She's an outside hitter who has 123 kills on the season. And then their setter. Like, I think setters is like such an underrated position in volleyball because they control the entire game. And their setter, Izzy Ashbourne, has 206 assists and 9 service aces. And then, obviously, their biggest competition right now is going to be Nebraska. I think Nebraska is actually ranked number 2. So that's going to be something to watch, especially when those teams match up in a couple months. That's all the time we have for volleyball today. Thank you so much for joining us. And now we're going to move it on to my Nightlight, who is a senior wide receiver who leads the team in yards and receptions. Find out who when we come back from the break.
Jack, buddy, why are you here?
I don't really understand why I'm here. I call a delusional fan. I just don't understand why I'm delusional if I think Kirk Cousins had the best mustache in the league.
Well, Jack, buddy, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I don't think anybody looks cool in handlebars.
But they're back, man. They're back.
They're not. They're not. Sometimes you just got to face the hard truth. It's right there in front of you. All these people, they're calling you delusional, but sometimes you got to worry about, am I projecting? Is it me? And in this
Let me
case,
tell you something, bud. It could never be me. Anything I say is factual and truth, and that's why the Vikings
are going 16-1 this year.
Organization, you have to look at your roster and say, I've had Kirk O'Thuggins for 6 years. Maybe it's time to move on.
There is no moving on from Kirk Thuggins and Justin Jefferson.
Do you think that maybe this all started just because of a little disappointment?
Nothing has started. This is how I live, and I am not delusional.
It is star receiver Kobe Hudson who leads the team with 15 receptions and 325 yards. And although he hasn't gotten that first touchdown yet, he is averaging over 100 yards per game, and I think he could have a big one against Kansas State. And now we're joined to talk about a historic event, our first ever Big 12 football game. I'm joined with Ezra, of course, and first-time guest John Warner. John, let's start off with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Maddie?
Oh, I'm good. Ezra, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Maddie?
I'm good. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm still here. You know,
Okay.
I guess the guests don't care about me, but that's okay.
I love you, Tyler. I love you.
All
Me
right.
too, Ezra.
Thank you for
I
saying
want
it
to
back.
start it off with last week's games for both teams. Tyler, take us away about Kansas State. How they had an interesting loss last week.
Kansas State, they lost a heartbreaker to Mizzou last week. It was a really tense back and forth game. You know, Will Howard, he was playing some pretty good football that week. And it comes down to the wire, 27-27. And in the final few seconds, Mizzou's kicker kicks a SEC record 61-yard field goal to win it, knocking off number 15, Kansas State. They're now no longer ranked. So just tough loss for them last week overall.
And then obviously it was not a tough loss for UCF. It was an easy win. Ezra or John, do you want to tell us about that win a little bit?
Yeah, so basically Timmy McClain got his first start for UCF, and he balled out. Like, he threw for 2 touchdowns, 374 passing yards. He basically showed that Villanova was no competition to us. I mean, I'm sure anybody could have told you that Villanova was probably not going to do anything against us, but Timmy McClain made it look much more easier than it looked. And we had a very good run game as well, I think, and we just looked really good, in my opinion. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, when you play teams like Villanova, those are the games you're supposed to win.
Yeah,
they did.
They did, very significantly.
It's a good confidence booster for this week against Kansas State, who did fall out of the rankings, but it's still, I think, their first real test to see if we can live up to that Big 12 competition. So we're going to do a little scouting report on Kansas State. I want to start with the offense, which I believe, John, you researched a lot. You have everything to know about Kansas State's offense.
So Kansas State's offense, the main thing with them is that loss against Missouri was very concerning. Yes, they scored 27 points, but Missouri is not a good football team. Missouri went 6-7 last year with a loss in the Gasparilla Bowl. So it's not like Missouri is the hallmark of SEC football. So Kansas State, when you look at their team, they are very reliant on Will Howard, the quarterback. And looking back to last year, they were very reliant on big plays. That's why they were so successful, and that's what earned them a berth in New Year's Six Bowl. But losing Deuce Vaughn, their now running back for the Dallas Cowboys, they lost a lot of those explosive plays. Their running game is not what it has been. Running back Trayshawn Ward now is the lead back. He's amassed 240 total yards, 2 touchdowns this year. But what's really hurting Kansas State, again, is those lack of big plays. So for UCF, the key is going to be, like Missouri, what Missouri did. They kept 2 safeties deep pretty much the entire game, kept the ball in front of them, and made Kansas State beat them. In fact, all of their touchdown drives by Kansas State were drives of 10 plays or more. So clearly Missouri was very keen on watching those big plays and making Kansas State earn it. So I think that's also very key for UCF. Another thing is Kansas State likes to play action a lot, and their offense is very balanced. It's almost an even 50-50 split between run and pass. So UCF's defense is going to have to stay disciplined. They're going to have to stay in their gaps, make sure they don't overcommit to the run, and make sure, again, like Missouri did, make Kansas State beat you with long drives, because I don't think they can.
That was great, John. Thank you for that. That gave us so much information, I think. And then, Ezra, I assigned you the Kansas State defense. You know, obviously we're starting a backup quarterback. JRP is still out. But do you think Kansas State's defense can hold down our rushing attack?
I'll be honest. I don't think we should rush them that much this game because, I mean, right now Kansas State sits first in Big 12 rankings for lowest rushing yards per game. They've only allowed 50 rushing yards a game. I don't think rushing touchdowns should be our go-to for this at all. They are terrible at covering the pass. They are 12th in Big 12 rankings for passing yards. They've allowed 264.3 passing yards per game, and they've versed some very, very not great talent in Troy and Simo. Like, there's no reason that Timmy McClain should not be throwing this entire game. Like, he looked great against Villanova, do it again. Just do it again. They've only allowed 14.3 points per game. They've only allowed 4 touchdowns all season. But again, I'm gonna say it's very skewed because they versed Troy and SEMO. Let's calm it down a little bit. The first time they versed anybody that was kind of mid and Mizzou, they lost. So I'm not 100% confident that their defense is great. I don't even want to say they're good. I want to say they're tolerable. So I think UCF should not be too scared of what they're bringing to the table, in my opinion.
I would say that's a bit harsh on K-State's defense, Ezra. This is still a solid unit overall. And especially, I think their biggest strength lies in their pass rush. They have 10 sacks so far in the season. And UCF's O-line has been a bit of a question mark so far, I'd say, this season. Our tackles have been very inconsistent with their play, to put it lightly. And Timmy McClain, it'll be his second career start. One thing I noticed from the Villanova game is he did like to hold on to the ball for a long time on those more deep developing passing plays, trying to push the ball downfield. So I think that could be a real strength for Kansas State to take advantage by sending in their pass rush, blitzing, just confusing Timmy, and that is a big cause for concern, I think.
Yeah, and then I agree with all of that, I think. And then we're just going to go into our predictions of the game. I'm going first. I think it's going to be a competitive loss for UCF. I think it's too much to overcome on the road with a backup quarterback. And Kansas State is coming off a very heartbreaking loss. I think they're going to be angry, and it might be a rough one to watch for UCF. What do you guys think over on the couch?
What do you think?
I think UCF's going to pull it out. First
okay,
Big 12
game.
I
like it.
Ton of stakes there. And also another thing to consider for K-State is that Will Howard has been listed as questionable on the injury report. So
I saw that as well.
It's possible that he might not even play, and they might be playing a backup quarterback.
Yep.
So.
I'm going to stick with it, too. I'm going to go with John. I'm also going to go with UCF. Like Maddie said, how she said it's going to be a competitive loss, I think it's going to be a competitive win. I think it's going to be a very back-and-forth game. I think we'll be able to pull it off in the end.
I'm going to go with K-State. Will Howard, I understand he's questionable, but I still think he'll be playing. But anyway, that's all we have for this segment. But before I send you off to commercial, I'd like to show my nightlight. He's a senior for the UCF men's soccer team. I bet you know who he is, but you'll find out after the break. Hello and welcome back. If you couldn't figure it out, my nightlight was senior forward for the UCF men's soccer team, Luca Dorado. He has been a mainstay on this team for many years, and I'm hoping this final season for him is going to be a great one. But anyway, we are back, and it's time to talk some college football. And joining us for this segment is nighttime regular Patrick Preverty, and making his on-air debut, Nick Cohen. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. Good. I'm doing great. Very excited.
Don't all talk at once. Okay. Okay, so I think we're all ready for this. We're going to be doing a little college football take debate. Some of these are hot takes. Some of them I just want your opinion, specifically Patrick's. And then we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to start off not very hot. The SEC sucks. Patrick, start with you. What do you think?
That's not hot? The SEC is really good. I still think, I know Alabama fell out of top 10. I actually don't believe they have any teams in the top 10 right now. But the entire SEC conference as a whole.
Well, they have Georgia.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia's still number one. But as the conference as a whole still has, I believe, 6 teams total that are ranked. They're still beating up on each other right now, still early in the season. But South Carolina's a team that's not ranked. And they've played UNC and Georgia this year. So they're 1 and 2. And they're going to not be ranked because of that. And it's just too early in the season to really write off any of these teams. LSU lost to FSU. These are out-of-conference games that are going to put a team back in the rankings, but I still think that the SEC is really good.
Nick, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think the Pac-12 is doing amazing this season, but, SEC
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
It's so great. I would say the SEC, they're still the top conference, obviously, but they have definitely taken a step back this season overall. And the biggest reason is quarterback play. Main examples being Bama, who has had a revolving door at starting quarterback, it seems. And Georgia's Carson Beck, while he's not done anything terrible, mind you, he has been captain checkdown for this Georgia team. And when he's gonna be asked to make a big play soon down the road this season, and I question if he's gonna be able to live up in that big moment.
Okay. I like the thoughts. We're starting early. We're starting easy. You guys didn't do anything crazy. But I want to move on to the West Coast, where Washington is the best Pac-12 team. Let's start off with Nick this time. I know you made those graphics for Washington.
I completely agree. First week, they won against Boise State 56-19, then won against Tulsa 43-10, and then last week won against Michigan State 41-7. Their schedule doesn't get any easier, but I think they can hold it down. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr. leads all of college football in passing yards, and then they have 3 receivers in the top 21 ranked for receiving yards. So I think they're going to be amazing.
Yeah, their schedule really can't get any easier because they played nobody the first 3 weeks. Essentially, Michigan State was one of the best teams that they played, and their coach is just trying not to be unemployed right now. But
I think he is unemployed. But
He's
Tyler,
unemployed.
do you? So Patrick, do you agree or disagree?
I think Washington is good. They have a really tough schedule. Pac-12 is really great. I could see them even sneaking in the playoff with 1 loss, or even as non-conference champs if they were 12-1 or something like that, like TCU did last year.
So do you say USC is still better in the Pac-12 right now?
I would take USC personally, but I like Washington.
In 6 weeks, Washington and USC play, so that's going to be a great game.
Well, we'll put you guys on the spot for that.
I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say they are not the best team in the Pac-12, and it's in fact Oregon. Oregon has not been getting a lot of hype this season, and Bo Nix has been fantastic. He has no interceptions so far in the year. Oregon's going to be playing Colorado this week in a ranked matchup where they will expose Colorado. The magic will sadly end. I'm sorry, Dion, but Oregon, they're a well-rounded, complete team with with Bo Nix as a quarterback who is finally coming to his own and can win big games.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
do you have any response for that? Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought up Oregon because their schedule has also been really, really terrible. They have, out of all the 3 teams that they've played, only one of them has a win against an FBS opponent. The rest of them are winning against FCS teams, just like Oregon did in week 1 when they threw up 80 points or whatever. I'm not a huge Bo Nix guy. I think he's really good, but it's all about winning the big game.
Which there's going to be a big game in 3 weeks when Washington plays Oregon.
You're our professional schedule maker over here. I love it. I love it. Okay, speaking of Colorado and Oregon, how about this take? Shedeur Sanders is better than Drake May. Patrick, start with you.
Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to go there just yet. I know Mel Kiper has Shedeur Sanders as the 3rd best quarterback in the upcoming draft. Drake May 2nd. I don't think that I'm ready to claim that just yet. UNC's still really good, top 10 team, I believe. I wouldn't go that far.
I would agree. I mean, I know college football is all about players getting drafted, but last year, Drake May's wide receiver 1, Josh Downs, got drafted, and now he's left with no one. Shedeur Sanders has amazing weapons, so I do think Drake May is still better, but Sanders is right up there.
Tyler, you have any thoughts on that one?
Drake May, I understand he had a lot of hype going into the season. You know, he'll be a top draft pick and maybe even a Heisman contender. And I get he lost his weapons like Josh Downs, like you said, Nick. But he's been looking a little like he's taking a lot of more risky passes that I haven't been such a fan of. Now, granted, you know, he's still playing well. But Shedeur, you don't average over 400 yards a game as that's not a fluke. He's still playing amazing. For a guy who's getting his first ever FBS action this season to just come into the starting role in this Colorado team and completely change the program, that's not something just anyone can do. And he's been playing quarterback so efficiently, reading the field well, not turning the ball over, not making bad decisions on throws, and he can hit his guys well in stride. So I think the Shedeur hype is warranted. I can understand how people may view him as better than May, but what I say is not fully.
Okay.
Not there yet, like Patrick, I'd say.
Okay. And then how about Georgia is not the number 1 team in the country?
Yeah, no, I don't think they are. I don't think Georgia's number 1.
Well, then who is? Who is?
I would give it to Michigan. Now, I understand Michigan. They have played.
Patrick just threw up in his mouth.
They have played no one really, and J.J. McCarthy just had a bad game against Bowling Green where he threw 3 interceptions. Now, Jim Harbaugh is coming back, but my big thing when I look at these teams and I look at who can win a national title, the big thing is quarterback. In those big games, and you need a game-winning drive, can you trust your quarterback to lead your offense to win you this game? And I haven't seen that from Carson Beck. J.J. McCarthy, I've been starting to see it from this year from him. Now, again, it's easy schedule, hasn't had Jim Harbaugh, but completing well over 80% of your passes, that is not something, and he's throwing the ball deep down the field. He's not throwing checkdowns like Carson Beck.
All right, Tyler, I'm going to cut you off. I need their opinions, so sorry about that.
I completely agree. I think quarterback is obviously the most important position in college football and regular football. And J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback out of the 2 teams. But defense wins championships. Georgia defense is just too big of a matchup for McCarthy.
Man, you had me in the first half. I thought we disagreed for a second. Yeah. What's wrong with the check down? That's a completed pass. J.J. McCarthy couldn't do much of that in the playoff game against Georgia a couple years ago. So, he's led them for 2 years now, and they haven't been able to get a playoff win. Give me the team that has won the national championship the last 2 years. I know that they've changed quarterbacks, but I'm still riding with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay, Tyler, I'm going to give you about 15 seconds to cook right now. Oklahoma is better than Texas, because then we got to move on to our primetime picks.
Yes, they are. Texas, not back. What was that game against Wyoming, Quinn? Are you going to win the Heisman? Absolutely not. What did Dylan Gabriel do? He dropped over 60 on Tulsa. I will see you in Red River October 7th. I will be at that game, and you will lose by double digits. I guarantee it.
Okay, he's guaranteeing. Patrick?
Well, you know what, man? Wyoming is a tough place to play.
Wyoming is it now?
Wyoming. It's cold. I actually believe Texas was home, but yeah, it happens. There was a little hangover from the win.
The game was only on like Longhorn Network, so it basically didn't happen. I don't know, but okay. Moving on to we have to move on to our primetime picks, which I know Patrick is really excited about. Number 6 Ohio State at number 9 Notre Dame. Ohio State is favored by 3.5 points. Patrick, you start us off.
Yeah, I'm very excited. As a Notre Dame fan, I am hoping and praying that we don't lose another big game against the top-ranked team. This would really hurt me. I probably will cry, but I'm very confident. Even though Ohio State's favored by 3.5 points, I actually think that line has moved since. It's maybe now 3. Notre Dame is home. It's in South Bend. Give me the Fighting Irish. We have the sexiest quarterback in the nation right now. We are just, like balling out of control. We have a great run game this year. And if we don't win, I'll paint my face with Ohio State colors and come on nighttime next week.
Okay, I'm down for that. Okay, Nick Cohen, what's up with you?
Okay, I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but I am an Ohio State hater, so I'm taking Notre Dame.
I did just hear Camden overcome.
I like this guy already.
New best friends over here. Tyler, who are you picking?
I'm also going to be going with Notre Dame. Sam Hartman has been having a stellar season so far, but let's not forget Notre Dame's running back, Audric Estime, leading the nation in rushing, averaging well over, I believe, 6 yards a carry. He's been outstanding. This is the year for Notre Dame. They need to win this game to make the playoff, and I think they do it.
I like Notre Dame, but I'm still going to take Ohio State in this one. Mainly because I really need Ohio State. I really need Patrick to paint his face. That's all the time we have this week on Nighttime. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be back next week.
Bye-bye.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back.